Good day, everyone. We are assigned to discuss the lesson 3, which is the varieties and registers of spoken and written language. During the discussion, the learners are able to explain the importance of using appropriate varieties and registers of language in a certain communication context, and explain the varieties and registers of oral and written language. And the last one is to explain the difference between spoken and written language. Let's now proceed to the first part of our discussion.
According to an article written by Glenier, we have six language registers. First is formal, casual, intimate, private, frozen, and consultative. These registers can be used depending on the situation and people we encounter. It is essential to use appropriate varieties and registers of language in certain communication contexts because in different situations and people call for different registers. It shows the level of formality and informality of the language used. When we use appropriate varieties and registers of language, we're showing respect, interest, and comfortableness, and also professionalism. However, we have different approach and language register when it comes to face-to-face conversation and in written mode. We characterize face-to-face conversation as multi-modality because we can use different registers and we consider the status, position, or the way of living persons we're communicating with in order to know when where to use or drop the formality. While in writing a paper, we commonly used the formal register since the construction of sentences, connections of grammar, and appropriate using of words are really matter.
Now we have the characteristics of written language. The first one is the permanence. Permanence means when student write something they already set in their mind to be done in one session. Halimbawa, kung ano yung pumasok sa isip natin na pwedeng isagot, ay yun yung isusulat natin bilang sagot at permanent na yan. Hindi naman pwede na walang lumabas sa ating kukote na pwede nating isagot. Production time. This part plays a crucial issue for the agents. In this part, a student will think about the deadline. The possible case in here is the student will just only focus on the deadline and would resort to not give importance on the content itself. Ang production time is very important when we are doing our business and work, even in our house chores, and also to learn the process of doing something rather than waiting to the result itself. And if we are waiting for the result, there will no improvement is going to happen. But if we understand the process of the work we do, there is a chance or a high possible outcomes and improvements that is going to happen, and that is production time. Distance. When we say distance in written language, it is a type of connection of between the writer and the audience, and the writer and the reader through a way of space and time, which is the distance. Orthography. This part is talk about the technical of appearance. After writer consider about the word, phrase, and sentences that they will use, students also consider about the font size and also the picture to the system of writing language, including its spelling rules, punctuations, and the use of letters. This talk about the sentence, whether students use simple sentence, combined or complex sentence. It refers to a kind of a powerful tool for communication where students use a simple sentence then combine it to make it richness and more adaptable that will help us students to be more effective readers and also writers. Vocabulary refers to the set of words that a writer uses to communicate their ideas. Vocabulary is also a dynamic and ever-growing collection, and the more you learn and use words, the richer and more expressive your communication will become. Word formality. This is the complex convention of academic writing. Example: describe, explain, compare, criticize, urge, argue, etc. If the writer creates academic writing, it means the product have to be formal. Formality involves the tone and style in the choice of words we use to convince the reader and the audience, as well as to highlight the specific platforms that will inspire them to negotiate with us, and that is an example of formality in written language. Variation in speed are a fascinating aspect of human communication. It's not just about how fast someone speaks, but how changes in speed can convey meaning, emotion, and even cultural nuances. The loudness or quietness are also known as a volume, another layer of meaning and impact to our communication. It's not just about how fast or how loud or someone speaks, but how these variations in volume can convey emotions, emphasize points, and even shape the dynamics of a conversation. Gestures are the non-verbal movements we make with our hands, arms, and bodies, are an integral part of a spoken language, adding a rich layer of meaning and expression to our communication. They can complement, clarify, or even contradict our words, making our speech more engaging and, in fact, impactful. Intonation. It is the rise and fall of our voice when we speak. It also adds rich layer of meaning and expression to our communication. In the real situation, they just highlighting the important phrases to that information to be more direct, understandable, and concise. Stress refers to the emphasis we place on a certain syllables within words or phrases. It's a crucial aspect of how we pronounce words and convey meaning, adding a layer of emphasis and nuance to our communication. Rhythm is a pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables in spoken language, and is a fundamental aspect of how we communicate. Pitch range is the difference between the highest and lowest notes a speaker can produce. It is a crucial element in spoken language, adding a rich layer of meaning and expression to our communication. Posing and phrasing are essential elements of spoken language, adding rhythm, clarity, and meaning to our communication. And they shape the flow of our speech, helping listeners to understand our ideas and emotions. Let's talk about the differences between spoken and written language. Written language is a visual representation of language, using symbols, example letters, or characters to convey meaning. It is permanent, allowing for revision and careful consideration before communication. While in spoken language is the auditory form of language, using sounds and intonation to convey meaning. It is spontaneous and dynamic, allowing for immediate feedback and adjustments during communication. While written and spoken language have distinct characteristics, however, they are connected and often complement each other.
I'll be discussing the three most common language register in terms of writing. First is the formal language register. Alam naman natin na when we say formal, it is usually used for professional writing and letter. Pag nagsusulat tayo in a formal language, we are expected to be respectful. Kaya nga 'di ba pag nagsusulat tayo ng formal letters, halimbawa na lamang nito ay ang excuse letters. Kaya nga 'di ba pag nagsusulat tayo nun, naglalagay tayo ng dear ma'am and sir, at sa baba naman ay nilalagyan din natin ng respectfully yours. Kasi nga in a formal writing, dapat nagiging respectful tayo at ang language na ginagamit natin must be respectful. Also, in writing in a formal language, we must avoid contractions. Yung sinushorten natin yung mga words. Ano na bang mga halimbawa ng mga contractions? Halimbawa nito ay ang cannot. Instead na gamitin natin yung can't, dapat ginagamit natin yung word na cannot. Hindi din dapat sinushorten yung words pag nagsusulat tayo in a formal language. Next is the informal language register. When we say informal, ito naman yung opposite ng formal. It is a conversational and appropriate when writing to friends and people you know very well. Examples is short note diaries and journals. So when you are talking to your friends through emails, yung mga chat, conversation with your parents, with your brother and sisters, is an example of informal language. Also, in writing an informal language, it has no rule. Unlike sa formal language register na merong rule na sinusunod. Dito, sa informal language, as long as you can be understood, yun na yun. Walang rule na sinusunod. Next is the neutral language register. Ang neutral language register, it is neither formal or informal. It is non-emotional and stick to facts. This style of writing can be seen in technical reports, magazine reviews, articles, at marami pang iba. Ang neutral language ay factual and objective. So, those are the three language register in terms of writing. First is the formal language register, informal language register, and the last one is the neutral language register. Definition of registers and varieties of spoken and written language. Register. Register is a subset of language as defined by purpose and setting. Sa madaling salita, ang register ay ito yung iba't ibang paraan mo ng paggamit ng mga lingwahe. There are 5 types of register. First is a frozen, formal, consultative, casual, and the last one is intimate. First type of register is frozen. When we say frozen, it is a language that never changes. Halimbawa nito ay ang Panatang Makabayan. 'Di ba? Simula nung nag-aral tayo from elementary, high school, and then we go sa college, and then until now, the Panatang Makabayan is remain unchanged. The same na nire-recite natin siya noon is the same na nire-recite natin siya ngayon. So, other example is lost. 'Di ba? Hindi na siya maaring baguhin pa dahil napatupad na siya. Always lang natin tatandaan na pag sinabing frozen, ito yung mga lingwahe na hindi na napapalitan pa. Next type of register is the formal. When we say formal, it is the standard English. Like for example, the speeches or school lessons. 'Di ba kung mapapansin natin na pag yung teacher natin is nagdi-discuss ng lessons, 'di ba? Napapansin natin na they are using gumagamit sila ng formal language. Meron pa rin siyang formality but not as formal talaga. It depends kung sino yung nakakausap natin. From the word itself, consult, it is used in conversation when they are speaking with someone who has specialized knowledge or who is offering an advice. Like for example, the patient consulting his doctor about health issues. So that is the example of consultative. Next type of register is the casual. Ang casual, ito yung mga lingwahe na ginagamit natin pag kausap natin yung mga friends natin. Like for example, the vernacular speech. What does it mean when we say vernacular speech? So, vernacular speech, it refers to everyday language or dialect of a person. So it means na ang casual, it is our typical way of communicating. Kung paano ka magsalita, paano mo gamitin yung mga lingwahe, yun na yun. It's your casual way of communicating. The last type of register is the intimate. So when we say intimate, it is a language between lovers or other close family members or friends. 'Di ba iba yung pakikipag-usap mo when you are talking to your friends, to your brother and sisters, tas yung pakikipag-usap mo naman with your lovers. 'Di ba pag nakikipag-usap tayo, kadalasan pag nakikipag-usap tayo sa ating mga sa ating kapatid, like for example, nagiging rude tayo minsan sa pagsasalita. But when you are talking to your lovers, to your boyfriends or girlfriends, sana all. So, 'di ba, nag-iiba yung tone mo ng voice. Iba yung mahinahon ka magsalita at merong sweetness when you are talking to your lovers. So, that's what you call intimate. That's your language between you and your lover or loved ones. So, those are the types of registers. Next is the varieties. When we say varieties, there are different kinds of language. Iba't ibang uri ng mga lingwahe. Kung ang register ay kung paano ka gumamit ng mga salita. Ang varieties naman ay iba't ibang uri ng mga lingwahe. Diba, like for example, dito sa Pilipinas, diba, our national language is Filipino, but hindi lang Filipino ang ginagamit nating salita. Merong Cebuano, 'di ba? For those who live in Cebu, merong Waray-Waray, Ilocano, Kapampangan, even the Hiligaynon. It's their mother tongue. Ito yung kinalakihan nilang lingwahe. It depends where the person live. So that is the varieties of the Philippines. Thank you for listening. Hope you learned something. I am Carla May CANTRE and Kenneth CABILLAN for this topic.